Anita here and welcome to day 20 of the Inktober challenge. As you can see there at the beginning, I'm showing you what I've done today because I have made myself a standing desk, and because of that the footage is just a little bit choppy because I've wanted a standing desk for a while now. I figured it would really help my back problems. I've had them for sitting too long. If you're going into full-time illustration, remember to take care of your back because, yeah, it's bad. So I figured that would help me. I just want to try new things, and of course I didn't want to commit to buying a standing desk, and I remembered that I had a coffee table in the attic, and I had to cut it a little bit. My boyfriend helped me to cut it. And it's a perfect height now for a standing desk. But I've never actually painted on a standing desk before, so I've noticed that it was completely different than just sitting down and painting. Or rather, it wasn't really different. I was just standing, but I was still leaning, and which I didn't want to do. So at some point, I've decided I'm leaning a bit too much, and what's the point of having a standing desk if your back is not straight? And so I have taken my, I have this little wooden, I don't know how to call it. It's like a bit higher tabletop thingy. It's on an angle. It's basically a piece of wood on an angle, so that you can have it a bit closer to yourself. You don't have to lean in. And I haven't been using it because, of course, it's a bit annoying for recording, but I figured I will have to use it. There is no other way around it. And so I was struggling a little bit in setting a camera angle because the little tiny tripod I've been using for my phone doesn't really work well with that height anymore. And so I've taken my regular tripod out, set it in a similar position, and that one's just a little bit too high. I would love something in the middle, but it looks good. It works well, and as a temporary solution, it's perfect. So that's that for that. I'm really happy with my standing desk. But yeah, the picture I'm working on today is an urban witch. It comes from the prompt actually came from the 31 Witches prompts. That was one of the prompts that I picked up on because I just really liked the word urban. And the one thing that came to mind is just a very modern looking witch, a little bit like a street fashion witch, a bit more loose, holding obviously some kind of hot drink from a company I'm not gonna name. But I thought it would be just fun to have something like that, to just make her wear clothes that are just remind me of very comfortable street clothes. I don't know. Another thing I wanted to do about this picture is to actually have it look very grungy. Well, not very grungy, because I am not able to do too grungy, but I wanted to have a bit more of a rough look. So the whole painting, I was trying to paint really rough, but it was kind of hard for me because I still didn't want it to look messy. When you are painting too rough, perhaps, of course, some people like it. I personally like to paint really neat. I like when my illustrations are very flat. You guys know, I like flat washes. And so painting rough and leaving spaces here and there, just not caring about staying in the line or going, within the shape. It's a bit hard for me, and I thought it was just would be a good exercise to, loosen up my hand. I am gonna be playing with splatters a lot in this one. I just wanted to be a little bit rougher around the edges, and it started very slow because, as you can see, I've painted the idea for the frame that I do in every single one of those paintings. There is a bit of a pavement, and there is either just a gate, or it kind of reminded me a little bit more of those very, very narrow alleys. We have those here in a nearby little town, and they're just, it actually looks exactly like this alley. It's just this very tiny, teeny alley, and it has an arch because that town is actually it's an old settlement. It's a historic place. It's not exactly urban, but it kind of reminded me, and I wanted to add that shape, and I thought it would be a very nice background for all the messy coloring that I would be doing. And so here I'm trying to add splatter, and I wanted to have it all over the picture to have it seem a little bit, yeah, I don't know how to explain it, a little bit like it was a wall. That was my general idea. However, I did want it to get all the way to the edges, and it did. And at first I didn't know what to do about it, because as you can see, I'm trying different ways of applying the splatter, adding, like, covering the middle with paper. Worked really well. But still, I was getting the splatter way too close to the edges. So you can see me picking some of the splatter with a little piece of tissue, because I didn't want it that close. But of course, you don't have control over where the splatter is going. And so I'm adding it in layers. And thinking, I was trying to think of how much splatter I actually wanted to add there. And I've decided to add very diluted ink first, like splatter diluted ink around, and then go further towards a bit more concentrated one. And concentrated ink. Oh, that is my phone. No. My reminder to go to bed, because I am very, very proud to announce that it's only 10:30 today, and I'm already done with my painting. So I'm very, very happy. But here, as you can see, I came up with an idea of actually making a little mask out of scrap paper, and it's just regular copy paper. There's nothing really about it. And I'm just, I've put that around, cut out a very rough shape of a frame, and I'm adding a bit more of the concentrated splatter, because that one, the bit more concentrated ink would be harder to take away with a tissue. And one thing I am not exactly happy, I mean, it doesn't really bother me that much in the end, but I wish I wouldn't put that much splatter at the bottom of the character. My idea was, I don't know what I was thinking. I just thought it would look fun, but in the end, there was too much going on, because if you notice, there are the lines on the broom, and there are the lines on the stockings. So there's a lot of detail, and there's also the pavement, a lot of things going on. On top of that, you have the splatter. It's too much. But it's not really that bad. It's just, I wish I didn't do it. That's something to remember for the future. So now I'm trying to add a bit more shading to the bottom, and trying to feather it out into the darkness. And I'm also trying to, I don't know if you're able to see it, but I'm being very rough with the pen for my standards. Trying to leave spaces white, and not caring much about if it's all filled in. To a certain degree, of course, because I still want it to look neat. I want the messiness to seem like it was intentional instead of just me being messy, if you know what I mean. I need a sippy. For some reason, every time I'm trying to make this video, I not only am completely out of breath, I don't understand where that's coming from, but also my throat is immediately starting to get raspy. I don't know if it's because I'm doing these every day. We'll see. We'll see once it's done and I'm gone, and I'm back to the weekly schedule. So one thing I also wanted to do here is kind of have the idea that none of these clothes are made of natural material. I don't know how to explain it. I wanted them to look like they are reflecting light in a bit more not natural way. I don't know, I really don't know how to explain it, but I thought it would be just fun to have it seem like there is a lot of light going on around her, because of course this is somewhere in the city. There are, you know, lights from the cars, or general lights from the lanterns or street lights. And I thought it was really cool to seem like she was wearing maybe some kind of, not natural fabrics that reflect lights a little bit sharper. And I hope you can't hear my cat eating in the background. She was sleeping so cutely here. And now, of course, she has to eat because I'm talking. It's the same as my dog, who every single time I'm making an update for the sketchbook, or the sketchbook challenge, every single time my dog decides to just say hi, because we can't forget that he's there. Okay, but I'm rambling. I'm really, really sorry. So basically I'm adding the shadows very, very roughly. And in a very, very weird way, I had to prepare myself to add those strokes really, really roughly. Because I'm so used to being neat while painting that actually adding something in a rougher way is a little bit more complicated. It doesn't help that I don't have really an idea where I'm going with this character. My whole idea here was that I wanted the look of the illustration to be a bit more messy and grungy. But where to put the colors, that was already, that was not important. And so I ran into trouble. I'm trying to fill in the spaces kind of in a balanced way. So I'm not concentrating, for example, only on the head area or only on the bottom. I'm trying to fill in, as you can see, and things also in pairs. So I have the hat and the hoodie part is the same color. Then I've added the stockings. I made them a little bit more sharp, I suppose, with the black. Just because if I've added them lighter, and that's the same reason why the actual skirt will stay white, because she has thing happening behind her. There's that broom behind her. That broom, it is supposed to be wooden color, right? So I wanted it to be. It doesn't have to be, but I wanted it to have this wooden value, I suppose, or tone. And so if I've added anything lighter, anything of the same tone, it would just look, wishy-washy. It wouldn't stand out. And I wanted those shapes to stand out, because then you would have this one colored blob at the bottom of the painting. And so I'm trying to distribute the values a little bit evenly, make things stand out. As you can see, because her hat is dark, her hat and her hoodie, I've decided to have her hair light. I think it would have, it stands out a bit better. And her skin is also just a tiny bit darker, but because of the hat and the hoodie, I feel like it stands out enough. But it was really, really actually complicated picture for me, even though it didn't take that much time to finish, surprisingly. Mostly because, there's not that much detail, actually. The bulk of the detail comes from the splatter. And so it was just figuring out where the tonal value, really. And that was the most complicated thing here. And it was funny because I'm at the standing desk now. Oh my gosh. Excuse me, my voice is breaking. Sippy. So because I was at the standing desk, I actually had one of my hands in the pocket just so that I wouldn't try, and I don't know, if I have both hands on the surface where I'm working at, it seems to me like it's so calculated and I'm concentrating very well. And I was trying really hard here to have, the strokes to be very painterly and kind of, like whimsical, as if I wasn't really thinking about them, which is of course not true, because I was thinking hard about every single stroke. And that's why I'm going over a lot of areas, because I felt that some of the things, because there's not that much, I don't know, it's hard to explain to me. This was a very complicated picture. Very hard for me to paint. And one thing you can notice here, I completely forgot about that bag to the very end. And here I'm coming back with a fine liner, trying to roughen the lines a little bit. And I'm also thinking about what else needs to be done. Like you can see here, I've missed a few little spots. I'm adding a bit of more shading to the skirt because, of course, the skirt still needs to be shaded, even if it's white. I'm deepening the shadows behind the character. In all, I'm really happy with this character. I'm very, very happy with the illustration, but I can't just believe how hard it was for me to paint like this. And I'm still really, I have to get a way of making bigger splatters because these are so fine. I just want to have a few bigger ones here and there, you know? So I've decided to leave that bag in a also lighter color. That's one of the, I think, disadvantages of working with only black or, you know, monochromatic theme. Just basically working monochromatic with one color. It's hard because I literally just ran out of tones that I wanted to put, that I could put in my eyes in the picture. And that bag just, all of a sudden, I just didn't know what to do. So I figured, you know, if I've added any color, I felt it would just disappear. Because there was just too much of the, only her hair and her skirt were white. The rest was pretty dark. And I felt that if I've added that bag, I've added darker shade to that bag, it would just disappear. And so I left it white. And last thing here I'm also doing is there's a pom-pom, like a little keychain on top of that attached to the broom. And that actually disappeared as well because I wanted it to be fluffy. But because of the dark background and because of the stones, all the dark lines that I'm making in the beginning, they disappeared. So I've added a little bit of white in the end just to bring that back. And it turned out really good. I'm not complaining. I would love to have a finer way of adding that white detail. Although I've learned already how to use the gel pen to get the finest line possible. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this painting, guys. I have to say that I really don't have anything to add about it because they're just flat washes here. It was more of a tonal value exercise and just getting more of a courage for making splashes. And that's pretty much it for me. So yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that actually I feel kind of guilty that I couldn't provide a more interesting commentary. But you know, sometimes you get those paintings that are very easy to talk about, you know. So yeah, thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!